All right.
Honestly, it's not 6 o'clock yet.
Well, we're starting a minute early then, Rob.
Or 2.
Or 2. Well, according to the clock here, it's 6 o'clock. So are we early? No, we're early.
It's wrong.
Okay. This is the Charter Committee meeting for November 10th. Welcome, Littleton. Tonight we're going to talk to cemetery commissioners and some of the cemetery people here. We're going to review some of the work we've done on elected officials in the charter draft. Start talking about school committee. There's really not that much there in the charter. We've got public input, got some other things to talk about, newsletter article and so on. But why don't we just get started with follow on to the cemetery discussion we had already.
Yes.
I
I missed that meeting.
Yes.
But thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Carolyn, I don't know if you want to come up or you guys want to come up here. Don't be shy.
Come on up. We're pretty easy, really.
You know, I was not shy.
Yeah, no. Ivy Pagazzi, Cemetery
Carolyn's
Commissioner.
not either.
I did watch the last meeting. I wanted to follow up to offer some more information about what we do as a commission, how the cemetery operates, some added detail, basically. So with respect to the finances, we generate revenue every year, lot sales, grave openings, different fees, etc. And that money that comes in, the commission decides how much we're going to take a portion, put into perpetual care. There's a perpetual care trust fund. And we also take that money and use it in different funds, different categories that we have, building maintenance, grounds, different accounts that we have at Town Hall Trust.
For operating.
For operating,
Yeah.
yeah. So the commission makes decisions about the move of money, projects that have to go on at the cemetery. We instruct the superintendent and authorize funds to do whatever, ongoing maintenance or development of projects.
So how much is this is planning at the beginning of the year versus month to month, you're making, or week to week, you're making decisions and deciding?
It's both. It's both. We plan for the coming year. You know, we'll do walkthroughs, we'll do, planning meeting to decide, hey, for instance, the new section that we opened up, there was a lot of planning that went into that. And then there are things that come up.
Such as older dying trees that are really heavy and can be dangerous if limbs start to fall. Such has been neglected for a long time because it's very expensive. So this commission, the current commission, has been really assertive at tree maintenance, among other things. We're doing the best we can to get some maintenance on the building. That's a little.
So something like that happens, there's a tree that's all of a sudden it's in peril.
Yeah.
So how often do you meet? How does this happen?
Well, we'll meet in an emergency basis if we have to, and authorize funds. And again, depends upon what the issue is and how much it costs, because we have to abide by Mass General Law rules.
Because typically even a single tree two tree takedowns, you'll exhaust your grounds maintenance budget. You need to go around it you need to go about it another way. The regular operating budget won't make it.
So what do you do?
We go into lot sales or what used to be a cemetery revolving account.
Right.
Only
That money that comes in during the year, that's where it gets allocated, because our budget that we receive from the town every year is small. It doesn't cover, we had one increase in 15 years. So,
and we only will do that go into the lot sales account if the commission is in total agreement and understanding, and then we've spoken to the accounting department, and they say that it's, of course, lawful and within reasonable rules.
right. Same with perpetual care. It has to meet certain criteria if we're going to do something that is for the longevity of the cemetery. And that's a narrow lane in a highway as to what we can do. We can't arbitrarily just grab that money and spend it. So depending upon, and I've heard the discussions, DPW and whatnot, I'm thinking long-term, okay? I'm not thinking 3 years, 5 years down the road. I'm thinking 10, 15, 20 when we're all not here. Okay, we're off, retired.
We're in the cemetery.
Yeah, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Yeah.
Where's at that point?
You can sprinkle our ashes.
But the concern is that depending upon the governance and the structure and who oversees the funding and the control of that funding, what we see in other municipalities is that when DPW has control, they have control over that money that's coming in, okay? And at that point, that money could be utilized for a variety of different purposes, where if the commission wasn't there, where's the allocation of that money back into the cemetery? And what you have is, you have situations where, you might have a couple lean years in a municipality, and guess what? Oh, there's 50,000 here, I need that for snowplow, whatever, or, equipment, whatnot. And then cemetery doesn't get taken care of. And it's very easy, the analogy I use time and time again is, cemetery is like your GPA in school. When you're at 3.8, okay, and you want to maintain that high GPA, great. The minute that GPA drops to 1, you know how much harder it is to get it back up to 3.8? And we struggled the last, not this past year, but before that, with the drought and whatnot, where we took some big hits in the cemetery and required a lot to bring it back up. And the commission was focused on that, to get that cemetery back up to what the community expects. That's another thing. I know Andrew talked about community. We're a small town, right? We love the fact that we're a small town. We're not a town of 40 or 50,000 people. And I'll tell you that at the cemetery, when there's an issue with the gravestone or there's something, there is either a commissioner, superintendent, or our illustrious town clerk that knows how to get a hold of that family. Even though they may not have been here for a long time, but we need to do a repair, we need to do something, and we don't arbitrarily just do it. We involve the families. So there's that aspect of it, that the commission being local, we're local, all right, we're from the town. So we're not shutting down saying, okay, this has to be this way forever. We want to be part of the dialogue and the discussion so that everybody understands the finances of it, what we do, what we control and oversee to make sure that the care is getting done to the property.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've read your minutes from primarily 2024, or at least they're not posted from.
They're fantastic, aren't they? They are unbelievable.
2024 minutes are off the charts.
Yeah.
2025,
It's
looks like
still off the charts,
you've had a
isn't it?
lot of meetings, but I couldn't read them. But so I don't know why they're not posted yet.
okay.
I'm sure that can get resolved.
Yeah.
And I wish it was, because I would have prepared for your meeting. So, but there's no question. Just want you to know, wherever this goes, the care and the attention of you, staff, as well as commissioners, off the charts. So let me just full stop there. It's really, and I agree. I thought it after the last presentation. We can't lose all of that community
Right.
that you referred to.
Right.
Complete. Got to find a way to do this. What I'd like to do, though, is talk where I see some other similarities,
Mhm.
like Park and Rec.
Yep.
It's got $1.5 million of revenue.
Yes.
And
Yep.
revolving fund, enterprise fund,
Yep.
transition between the two, that sort of stuff. We look at Conservation Commission, stabilization funds.
Mhm.
So we could do stabilization funds with regard to revenues coming in off lot sales to go into cemetery perpetual fund stabilization. So I'm in no way trying to say, hey, I have all the answers. I just know there's a lot of people that have already worked through different aspects of providing for those, highs and lows with regard to revenue and proceeds that you're bringing in. And Conscom with the Oak Hill Stabilization Fund, they manage that fund. I don't think select board or somebody else or a town manager, should we go to a strong TM or a strong town administrator, I don't see them going that way with
Right.
regard to picking that pocket. Or we put in the language proposed, work
That's-
out the language with
exactly.
regard to how,
Yep.
nope, it requires this sort of utilization of funds, that
Right.
sort of thing. So that's where there's, I'll use an example, because you spent $8,000 in 2024, at least you appropriated $8,000 in 2024 for a couple of trees to be removed, which it's great that you're doing it, it's fantastic you're doing it. And you guys even got, there's some shrubs that are overcoming, some gravestones we need to work on.
Right.
It's phenomenal, that sort of stuff. But it does make me wonder with regard to, Steve Whitten, the tree warden, and I wonder, if there's some increase the work of that day, and do we get some dollars off with regard to, hey, Littleton tree warden has already got X trees that we're already bringing an arborist and a tree company in order to take these down. Hey, now we can squeeze in the needs of the cemetery commission and get a little bit of better deal for all of the monies, et cetera. So I just want to throw that out to you to continue the dialogue. I think you're making some very, very good points, and I think they have to be dealt with, much like I said, how you won me over with community the last time and today. But I also want to present to you honestly, as you're here, that I think there's ways, should this group determine to, let's try to work out, and let's try to find other ways. I think there are other ways. I just want to throw out that comment to you.
Sure.
And happy to talk with you about specifics, any of you, happy to talk.
Right, and again, I just want to reiterate, everything in the town right now is working great, all right? I'm not worried about what's happening today, next year. I'm worried about 15, 20 years when there's all new people in place and they have a different mindset.
I completely,
So,
and I think
yeah.
everybody embraces that with eye looking forward, not necessarily with who do we know, and, to some extent, I know there was an MOU that got rescinded because a previous DPW, kind of kidnapped the staff and that sort of thing. I mean, it's hard to, and we can't ignore experience and what your concerns are.
Right.
We have to overcome them
Yeah.
and find a way forward with regard to the best interest to maintain the loving care that you give the cemeteries. So, just want to say that.
Anybody else, anything? So, my only comments, the same thing. Obviously, we know the cemetery is well-loved and cared for, and that's important to the town. There's no question about that. It's just, as we go through this, and I don't think, there was discussions about what does the cemetery commission do and so on. I think now we understand that, so that's great. The real question to me right now that's still open is, do you report to the cemetery commission, or do you report to town, or, DPW, I guess. would
Right.
be. And does that really make a difference on a day-to-day basis or not? Because if it's a carve-out, if you're different from every other buddy in town, if that's the way we go,
Right.
is that justified? Or is that, you can still work it out, you're still in charge, you're still making those decisions, but on a day-to-day basis, you've got a full-time somebody who's in
Yeah.
town every day, all
Right.
to answer those questions.
And I totally understand that, I get that. Whatever the charter committee decides, it has to have teeth. Because again, I'll go back and I'll say, I can see it happen 10 years from now. No, sorry, they're not doing that. They're doing this for the next 2 weeks. We don't care, Cemetery Commission, what you say is a priority. This is our priority. So how does that flush out? I don't know the answer.
Right.
But I'm willing to sit down, I think the commission is willing to sit down and talk about it to powers to be. And just maybe there's a way to, come up with a solution. I don't know, but I see that scenario coming up. And we stole somebody from a prestigious town that he has experience of exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
He lived it.
Yeah.
He got out of there because it was going in the wrong direction. So,
You wanna talk about that?
That experience you're talking about where a cemetery rolled up under DPW?
Correct. And before that, I worked for the town of Acton. And before that, I worked for a burial vault company out of Chelmsford, Mass. And basically, from when I was 18 to 30, got on in Acton, I saw that would happen in a city and it would suffer. The cemetery would just really suffer. Any project would get put on the back burner. I don't know how, like you guys are saying, how it will get planned out so it would not go that way. But it seems to go, I don't want to
No, it's
blast
okay.
any
This is
specific
what
cemetery.
This is what we need to
Yeah.
hear, though. This is what we're trying, you know, what I tell everybody, you know, we don't wanna do one thing and then afterwards say, oh, if we had known that.
Right,
You know, it's,
right.
if someone says, well, I like it better this way, I feel more comfortable, that's nice, that's not
Right,
helpful, but if you
right.
tell, here's
Real
some,
world
here's some
experiences.
things that would happen,
Ian,
just
fill
what
it
we
in.
know.
Go ahead,
I was gonna
spill
say,
it in.
it always suffers.
Okay.
Things, decks get dropped down to an inch, so you say mow it, burn it, we won't be back for 3 weeks. I don't, again, I don't wanna
That's okay.
blast it.
So,
So we
Al,
had
can I just ask, Al, because you were DPW, right?
Excuse me.
What did, you have
I did not have the cemetery,
Okay.
they had a cemetery commission.
okay.
Yeah.
And so how did that work? So, then they
They
worked at the
did
cemetery?
pretty much what Ivan and
Here,
this,
separate.
these guys do.
So it was separate, it was not part of DPW when you were in
No.
Somerville, right?
No, I didn't have that.
So, does anyone know?
In fact, there were two. We had two veteran cemeteries in Somerville. So there was a veteran cemetery commission and the cemetery commission. So I didn't have anything to do with that. And frankly, I had so much on my plate, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
No, Betsy and I did have a chance to talk to the DPW director. And we wanted to talk to him on purpose to find out how it would fold in if possible. And I guess one of the things that you're talking about, I have a concern about too, is that what he spelled out and what he wanted to do, I think we foresaw as being very, very positive. He didn't plan to taking anyone off what they do. They'd still work the same workload, be available on weekends and things like that. You'd have the ability to have your trucks fixed. There was a lot of positives that were coming out of it. I was left with, the first thing I wasn't sure of, like you said, when he's gone and the new DPW director, what happens then? And the second thing, and the biggest part, was the budget part of it. I mean, obviously, if it's completely under the DPW, then it goes to the DPW director, and you would report directly to him, which isn't bad either, but what happens in the future, and once again, how does the budget part work out? So,
Right.
so I wouldn't, I don't want to delay what we do here, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind if, like, two cemetery commissioners and anyone on the committee would get together with the DPW and talk about how this could possibly work. And once again, I'm not trying to slow things down,
No,
but
I-
it's just an idea that I'm sending out
We
there.
want to get it right.
Along those lines, does anyone know, are there any other like semi-autonomous units under the DPW that would be like a model for how this might work, or is everything all
In
rolled up?
Littleton?
Maybe the transfer station?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of have their own staff, their own rules, their
Own
own
budget.
projects.
Do they work a similar week? I know you folks 5 to 7 days a week in reality, whereas I think highway's working 4.
They do 410s
Yeah,
currently.
yeah, so there would be, in transfer station, do they work the same 4s, or I know they're shut down,
I think some days they start at noon and go till,
yeah.
6 or something.
So you might be right with regard to, that just points to an aspect of scheduling.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not
what-
talking so much about scheduling, but more like the management of it and sort of the independence of the unit
Yeah.
to do their own tasks, their own projects, their own decisions, but under the umbrella.
I
of
don't think
DPW.
the transfer station, it's managed by the DPW director, and he makes the decisions on the transfer station.
Oh, yeah.
He-
Yeah.
They're not
There's
independent.
no,
No,
Yeah.
he does, but, and we have somebody that routinely attends Super Saturday, finance review sessions. And my recollection is that transfer station more or less covers fees with regard to waste, recycling, that
Right.
sort of thing, but staffing, I don't think is covered by the fees, that sort of thing. We might be something similar with regard to, you cover lots and maintenance, that sort of aspect, but I think your fee structure, your salaries, et cetera, are more or less borne by
By the town.
the
That's
town.
right, that's the way.
So in
it's
that
set.
regard, it's
Yep.
something similar.
Yeah, I'm just
with
looking
the-
for like a model that.
Well, that's what I'm
say
trying to
it's-
say,
right,
the transfer
exactly.
station, which is already a subunit of parts, because I've heard on Super Saturday, different presentations, made with regard to the transfer station component within, and this.
Because that's the revenue generator of DPW.
Correct,
right?
yeah, they have to.
They don't have any other group that generates revenue.
Correct,
That
but,
piece
but
generates.
again, trying to be
Yeah.
responsive to Karen with regard to
Yeah.
how we can, understand overarching, organization, but also get
Mm-hmm.
into some subset. My recollection is, I wasn't allowed to speak, but my recollection is last year's Super Saturday, I recall some of your presentation with regard to your building and some things that were being done. And what I find, and not criticizing in any way, was very educational, but I think your overall concern, which I share, we can't let, if any change is made, and I'd even say as it exists today, I'm concerned, is enough attention being brought because you're a three-commissioner, group, and you're up against, you have this niche, really important niche with regard to the town budget, but you're dwarfed, with regard to school and, picket as to.
Police,
you know,
fire,
Yeah,
roads.
correct, you just aren't. And so when your needs come up, how do we get the point made by you that submitted with, the town administrator, and then you folks that, really attempt to get the attention of the select board and FinCom and the TA?
Well, we did that last year, and that's why we got an increase in our budget after so many years. So,
But-
yeah, the commission is being a lot more proactive now in
And-
voicing.
And it
our
needs,
concerns.
to be, like you
Yeah.
said, for 10, 20, 30 years, we can't let that
Right.
get dwarfed.
Okay, but back to this, so, two things I'd ask. So one, is there ever a case, or, on the other side of it, is it helpful to you, are there times when you have extra work that needs to get done that doesn't require specific skills that DPW could help you? If you were really one big part of a pot, that other people would come over and help you with some of your work at certain times? Is that a benefit?
On the surface, it certainly sounds like it, but I mean, it's hard to answer that really specifically because when we are under a load, they're also under a load.
Right.
Like whether it's leaves or
It's
the
the same
grass.
thing as
the
leaves and
same-
snow and
yeah,
stuff, it's the
stuff.
same stuff?
And we do a great job with the senior work-off plan, and the temporary,
That has been great,
the
the
college,
senior
college kid workers. So, we encourage seniors to apply, you wanna come work up at the cemetery, we have work.
And you might think like, oh, wouldn't it be something if they could send some of their rec department guys up there to mow? Well, their mowers are 10-foot swath. You might as well not
Okay,
even pull
right.
it into the cemetery. It's
Yeah,
nowhere, there's no way
that
to
doesn't
do it.
work, okay, yep. So then the other question is, again, just playing all this out, so the 10 years from now, things are different, you got a different DPW director, you also have a different commission. You may not be able to get the people like you are, who are so involved,
Right.
I mean, that's the other part of this, right?
I know, you're looking at, appointed versus elected, but I go back
Mm-hmm.
to that, do you want appointed people that don't live in this area?
Well, that would not be the issue. The issue would be appointment town only.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah, that would
Because
be fine.
That's my one concern
Yeah.
there, and, if you can do that and
To me,
have the bookend,
my
it has to
question.
be town only, yeah.
And that's great, my question wasn't even elected versus appointed for this.
Okay.
It was really just, I mean, if he needs you right away, you guys get an emergency call.
Yep.
Well, you may not have a board who can do that, or who's willing to do it, or they may, they're on the commission and they care about it, but they're not as into it as you are.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's just a reality, right?
Right.
There's lots of changes over the last
Yep,
years, right?
yep,
So
yep.
it's not a right or wrong, it's just another thing to consider, right?
I've never worked with the new DPW commissioner. But back when there was a highway commissioner, I know on several occasions, just happened to know, that DPW would come up, send people up when you had an emergency, when you had something, had to get done, and they had the guys, the manpower to do it. They always did it. It was never a big deal, so. I don't know how that would work under a structure.
Right. Does it ever work the other way? Do they ever come and say, hey, you guys are kind of slow, can you help us over here? Does that ever happen?
That has not happened in
No.
my experience.
No,
You ever have slow time?
they're not,
Hey, you're so much- I need
they're not
something new.
union, they're not union.
Right, So
So
that's a
that's
thing
an
too,
issue.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you always have things like, there's always something to be done though?
Oh, yeah.
There's always something.
Okay. You're laughing, but you have.
Taxes. All inevitable. Death and taxes.
A
Right,
burial on a beautiful day in September might take 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get ready. That same burial in January, especially last year, we had a lot of frost. We committed a day and a half because the frost was literally
Yeah.
2 feet thick.
Yeah.
And we had to leave the frost burner out overnight, so.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's just not burials too. People that, you
People
know,
come in with questions about a lot.
they want to do something. They want to, you know,
They don't remember how many spaces they have
Yeah.
left. Do they?
their parents bought these lots in 1974. And they have no idea how many people are buried there. Do I have space? Do I not? Do I?
And so you're
It's
dealing with
constant.
those questions now?
Oh, yeah.
That's what you. that's what you-
Constant, yeah.
Okay.
Every day there's some of that.
Hmm?
Every day there's some
Some
of
of
that.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot
And then, of
work
course,
in.
there's building cleanliness, building maintenance, what we can do, and then, of course, equipment, mowers, backhoe, leaf vac, stuff that we can work on when we get to, there's never really nothing to do.
A few minutes ago, you said, I believe, that whatever is decided, it has to have some teeth in it.
Yep.
So that, would you finish that sentence for me?
So that the ability, especially on the financial side, that the control remains with the cemetery. I think that's critical, and I'm just speaking because, you know, we have examples where it doesn't work that way, where funds are extracted that come in for other things that are non-cemetery.
And how, you,
Couldn't that happen today? There's no reason why, I mean, you're still part of the town today, right?
We're still part of the town, but the money that comes
So you
in,
decide it all.
the money comes in and it goes into accounts.
Right.
And we transfer money into perpetual care, yeah, that money comes in and it
But-
goes into cemetery.
Right, but that would still happen, even if you were reporting directly to the DPW, that would still happen.
I don't know the legalities and you sit there and say that. But-
I make it up as I go too,
Yeah.
just to tell you the truth, okay?
Again,
Okay,
I'd love for town council, somebody to say that, hey, this,
That's what you're talking about, the teeth. So
teeth.
that income, that revenue that's coming in,
Yep.
that's being directed by you, either to
Yep.
operating expenses or the whatever fund,
yep,
that the commission would continue to have that control over those monies.
right.
Yeah,
And
the
I'll throw
commission would
one.
live. We're not saying get rid of the commission, that obviously would
Right.
still exist.
I'll throw one other thing out there. You know,
Yeah.
we just did an expansion on Sullivan Way, phase 1 expansion. There's gonna be a phase 2 expansion that's gonna happen down the road. When that expansion happens, there's a bunch of material that's gonna come out of that. That material's gonna get sold. That has to go to the cemetery. Has to go to perpetual care. It has to go to the you know, longevity and upkeep of the cemetery. Depending upon what happens here and down the road, I would hate to see that somebody would get their hands on that and not put it towards the cemetery. So there are things like that.
Right.
As commissioners,
Right.
you know, we're looking 10 years,
Yep.
15, 20 years down the road. That's
What we're looking at.
That's-
yeah,
yeah, that's part of our,
Does the
Makeup, that's what we
commission
have to
have a
do.
charter or a charge or objectives? Like, we manage these funds, the property, any resulting, I mean, is that documented anywhere?
on state law.
yeah.
Yeah,
So just the state?
reading your minutes, yeah, it looks like you are putting it in and you're discussing moving things from an operating, because you've already exceeded 4 months into the year, you can already project and say, we're not gonna make it the rest of the
Right.
year, and you had to deal with decisions. So, yeah,
Exactly.
there's, in their minutes, they've got this nuance, I'll call it nuanced, but very specific, this is how we're going to work out the challenge that we're confronting right
Right.
now.
And then we're the watchdog too of the funds that come in.
Yep.
Right.
So we're making sure that staff is not spending it,
Yep.
you know.
Right, well, but I'm gonna go back to Joe's point earlier, I think he was right. What we need to do is get some of you and some of us and some finance people
Yep.
to talk about exactly how it works. Some of this may be working that way now,
Mm-hmm.
just because everybody's letting it work that way now. There may be nothing in place today that say that the town couldn't come in and take your money anyhow.
Right, yeah,
So
I-
we don't know.
we don't know.
So let's go find out, let's get the
Right.
facts, get where it is now, and then
Sure.
figure out what we have to do to set it up, so you make sure going forward, whatever happens with
Right.
this, and whatever we do is just a recommendation anyway, it doesn't.
I know, it goes to
okay?
town meeting and all
You
that.
know,
Yep,
there's a
yep.
million other steps.
Yep.
That we make sure that it's done right, because again, we don't want to, nobody here wants to have the problems that you're talking about. Nobody wants that to happen, believe me. I'm talking for everybody, but, right?
It's all right.
Okay.
So,
But I have one question.
Sure.
When you had mentioned, someone mentioned earlier, if we stay the way we are, we'd be different than every other department in the town. But how are we not that different from Park and Rec? Who, I mean, if Alicia reports to the town administrator, I mean, what if?
No, not today, she's hired by the Park and Rec Board.
The commission.
Yeah,
yeah.
but she-
Right, but going
So we're talking
forward, the
about going
intention is
forward.
that they'll still be involved, but the town
Yeah,
manager, administrator, whatever we're talking about, that they will hire the people.
right. So
Okay.
why couldn't cemetery be set up like that rather than roll?
Well, they
up
could.
under
That's what
DPW,
we're
just
talking
be
about.
like more-
Oh, or
more-
so you'd report to the town manager?
Right.
Was the town manager gonna be able to helpful on a day-to-day basis on what needs to get done?
Well, is it for anything? I mean, for Park
Well,
and Rec?
I don't know.
I mean, it.
Yeah,
I mean,
what's he
Well, I
gonna
think
do
the
with
kind
Park
of
and
things,
Rec?
personnel kind of things and things like that come up, I don't know.
Well, maybe that
Park and
would
Rec
be-
has a lot more, I mean, that's a bigger organization
Yeah.
that has a lot more day-to-day.
Right.
That's gonna pop up.
It's got a bigger budget probably too.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, I mean,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
that would be the question of,
Yeah.
but it's a good point,
Because it seems
Caroline.
like
It's a
DPW
fair,
isn't just because it's, dirt and big equipment that you put cemetery and
Yeah.
DPW together. We're much different than like
The
Park and
D-
Rec.
My truck's bigger than your truck.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's not, okay.
Dirt, pavement.
Dirt pavement and, yeah.
Okay. That's actually a fair point. And because you're union and, or they're union, you're not, then maybe there's some discussion about that too, I don't know.
Which,
Anybody-
by the
any
way,
comments
is
about
great
that?
because, we have great staff today
Yep.
and we don't have to worry about that. Hey, guys, can you stay another hour? Can you do, yeah, all right, they do what it takes to get it done. We don't have to worry about contractual issues.
Now, your staff is on the same wage scale that other town employees?
Yeah, it's the steps and all that, yes, yeah, absolutely, yep.
But that's a good point, because I don't know what the definition of the bargaining unit is here. And if the cemetery employees reported up through the DPW, would they then be part of the bargaining unit?
No, we've already talked about that. No, they can, and they can be asked to do things, but then it's a voluntary thing.
That's a
It's not
very legal
required thing.
question.
But they're
I think
already
you're
town
the
employees.
easy HR
This is,
guy.
this is
I'm not
already,
talking about whether they're town employees, I'm talking about whether they would become, or the employees could make the case that they should become represented by the union. There's something called the definition of the bargaining unit.
They can always make that.
So,
it could already exist. They're already within the annual budget. It exists today,
do you know what the definition of the bargaining unit is?
not this specific
No.
one.
So, I think we ought to be careful to look into the issue of definition of bargaining unit and whether there's any implications here to flipping the cemetery employees over to be, that's all I'm saying. It's worth checking.
So that can be part of that conversation.
Yeah, but can we just talk about Carolyn's thing? Does anybody here have a comment on that?
I actually think it's kind of logical.
You just have to report to the town manager rather than DPW?
Yeah, if you want to make the case because of the union
Director, yeah.
issue, because of the funds, you know what I mean?
I don't think that, personally, I don't think the funds have much to do with it, but,
Yeah, I don't
Just
see
thinking
it.
it through.
Okay. Sorry.
but, yeah. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't- I didn't mean to.
No, but it's just kind of like, well, yeah, no, it's definitely an option.
Carol.
Oh, Charlotte, do you want to talk?
Doesn't have her hand up.
didn't know she-
No, thanks. I've been following the conversation and taking notes. No comment at this point. Thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, there's an aspect of this that, just the size, and you said it, $1.5 million versus much less.
Yeah.
That's one aspect.
Yeah.
I looked pretty extensively through the 10 communities, or at least I'm more than halfway through. I don't see cemetery broken out in any charter that we've been offered up by Collins Center as being comparable. So I think the alignment, as was first got my attention, was the government study review done in July of 2024 that directly recommended this consolidation, if you will. But consolidation, to Kevin's point or your point, et cetera, again, community,
Exactly.
there's uniqueness.
Absolutely.
Has to be maintained with
Right.
teeth, the
Right.
whole thing. Lots of details that are not details. They're why you folks are doing such a, my opinion, great job with it, because you spend 2 hours dealing with cemetery work. Is that gonna get done? I would say, Carolyn, to your point, do I think that same TLC is gonna get done if you're reporting to Jim or if you're reporting to Steve? Not unless you're there maintaining the focus and the attention and holding everybody accountable. So we've got to work out, my opinion, the detail and the infrastructure, should a change even get recommended with regard to the teeth, so it could be done. But I see a similarity with Park and Rec, because much like you dealt last year with the price for infant on Saturday.
Right.
That sort of thing, and you came with that level of detail. That's just like Park and Rec commissioners deal with regard to programs for Camp T or, other
Yeah.
aspects.
Yeah.
So all these, there's lots of details, because change is hard, but change is also worthwhile to do it right. So I think whether we go Joe's route or somebody else's route to be determined, there's a lot of challenges to overcome to make sure that nothing is lost, and that everybody's shaking their head saying, yeah, this is merit, or no, this isn't adequate, and this is the shortfall, and we need to get that addressed if you expect us to be, saying anything other. But there's so many, I think, because of what I'm seeing in the other communities, who must be resolving it, or maybe we're just the exception and we need to continue to be exceptional. So
I'd be curious the size of the other communities. and-
but I'd be happy to share offline with you.
Yeah, I'd
Happy
like to
do
see that, because,
Happy to do
again, I hate it when we get compared to larger communities. We're not that. And
These
we're-
are our
And we're not gonna
approximate
grow.
size.
I mean, what's the estimate of how big Middleton's gonna grow? Yeah, I know we have apartments coming, whatnot, that's gonna inject some people, but,
They're all young.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
school age children.
Yeah, that's another issue, that's another problem, yeah.
All right, Kyle?
In regards to your experience in Acton, what was the involvement of the Cemetery Commission there, and how would you compare or contrast it to the involvement here in Littleton?
They met quite often. I wasn't involved with them in Acton. I was a labor operator, heavy equipment and
Sure, yeah.
mowing and whatnot. Our boss, Sean, would meet probably monthly. They'd pop in at like 3 on the third Wednesday of the month, and they'd meet right at the cemetery, same as these guys and us. And the little bit I understood through Sean is they'd hash out little things here and there, but basically all get focused on we'd have tree work have to be done, then they'd iron out what we're gonna do and who's gonna,
But who had last say?
We were the cemetery commission,
Okay,
but then it went to DPW,
yeah,
and since I've talked to Sean since then, it's not like he's banished from it, but I think it's a little less, cemetery commission having the rain.
to say, and it's more DPW.
Is that because there's no budgetary carve-out? And I could go research this myself, but it seems like here in Littleton, you own the budget.
Right.
It seems like in Acton, while there's a commission, perhaps it all
don't
rolls
own
up
the
under DPW, so they can selectively say, sorry, we're gonna take this.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know in depth that much
Oh,
about it.
I can go research
Okay,
it. It's-
yeah, yeah.
I'm just trying, what I'm trying to figure out is, so when we met with the Cemetery Commission the last time, it was clear to me, at least, well, I'll say, it was my perception that you could have more resources. You need more resources. And so my thought was, well, if you were under the DPW, that's a whole lot of resources that could be utilized while still maintaining your budget, the commission, your control, just that you now have access to more resources. Now, whether that could come to fruition or not, I mean, that's where I think we were talking about having teeth, documenting it, putting it in some type of official documentation. I don't know what that looks like in the future, but that was my thought of, well, it seems to me that you guys could use more resources. We got DPW, why not rely on them?
As far as resources, you mean just funds?
No, man.
Funds, equipment, manpower.
Well, it comes down to funds to get equipment, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're.
Funding.
Like,
they're
for
put-
example, like if you have to cut down a tree, I can't imagine that on any given day, everyone is using their chainsaws and their cranes. There's probably some sitting around that could be used, as an example. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't live that life.
I think
I work on computers for a living, so what do I know?
I think you have to get through this union, non-union issue.
Yeah, I thought that was a good point. I'm glad that got
Yeah.
teased out.
I think that's something that might have some pushback, you know, so,
Yeah, we definitely need to look into that.
yeah.
Mark?
So I was just gonna say that it's unrealistic that every department ends up reporting to a single town manager. That town manager is going to delegate, right? It might be to the assistant town manager, or we might create team leads or other manager roles eventually anyway. So the way the charter is gonna have to be written is everyone reports to the town manager or its designee. What you're asking is that the designee not be DPW, right?
Yeah.
Right, so that's a second step, it's way down the line.
Yeah, but it could
I'm
be.
not asking
No,
for
I
for
know.
that, I'm not, yeah, I'm just saying, let's have the discussion.
I wouldn't have thought that far down either. So
Yeah,
that's
let's
interesting.
have the discussion and see
DPW
what
be better
makes
than
sense.
reporting to,
I don't know what the answer
Right.
is.
But it could be DPW if we worked out all the details.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah,
okay, so
And
let's,
if that was the truth, then you would have other resources of mechanics and things like that. So once again, there are benefits, but we just have to find a way
we
of.
gotta, get
okay,
through some of the
so
issues.
let's proceed. We've spent 45 minutes on this now. Who from your team would you, if we had a couple people from our team, a couple people from your team, and we get with some finance people to talk about how things really are set up and make sure that they stay, who are the right people?
Yeah, Carolyn and I.
Okay, that's easy.
I would also, besides finance, include
Uh,
the
Need you to post
DPW
it.
Yes, yeah,
director.
we're posted tonight.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that's good. All right, and you wanna do it, Joe? Or do you care?
I'm open to everybody, anyone, you know. You and I did one, so if two other people wanna,
I'm in.
Okay. And then finance, we'll figure out who the right people are there we have to get with, okay. All right, okay,
So Sullivan Way was opened up, and we are selling lots up there. Can we use this time? Yeah. I mean, the premier spots are going first. So, come on up.
July 24, it says no business, so I don't know, are you trying to sell me? You know,
Yeah.
there it is.
You know, it's, right?
No, I'm-
Your columbarium options for cremation are.
Yes, yeah, but there are some primo lots up there,
Okay.
so.
Anything
go.
it
waterfront?
wasn't open when I bought mine.
No, it wasn't, it wasn't.
you
Mine,
wanna give your phone number too, so in case,
yeah, exactly. Come on up.
all right, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, somebody's jacket, is that one of yours?
It's mine.
Oh, okay, never mind, it's drying off.
And if you need a second from our group, I can do it if Joe
Okay.
doesn't want to.
All right, All right, public input. We have any public input tonight? Anybody want to say anything? Nope. Okay. All right, then I guess we're going to move on into the document. Mel and Anthony, you on board with this now?
Yes,
The idea is
yes.
to go through the section on the elected officials and see what else we need to discuss, where that is.
Yeah, before we sort of go through the section, I guess I want to sort of just talk a little bit about this conversation you just had with the
Okay.
cemetery commissioners, just for a moment. So, again, you know, the commission, we're consultants to you, so this is just advice. You can take it or leave it. But it did seem to me, sort of as I was listening to that, you're getting maybe into a little bit more of the weeds than maybe the committee needs to. And for the charter purposes, there isn't going to be, you know, really wouldn't be appropriate to put in the charter a lot about who reports to you on this, on some of the levels that you were getting into around who reports to the DPW and things of that nature. You're talking about the charter because all of the elected boards do go into the charter, and right now you have an elected cemetery commission. It sounds like you're going to keep that, and just there's, you know, again, I wouldn't recommend you necessarily go into, but if you go into chapter 114 of the state laws, there's a whole list of, you know, laws about the cemetery commissions, what it can do with the finances. They're all really part of the town, so they're all town employees, not the commissioners, but the you know, the charter commission stuff. It talks about how the finances are paid into the town treasury, but then how, you know, how the town's supposed to maintain them. So again, that stuff wouldn't normally be in the charter, just whether or not you want to have an elected charter commission. If you didn't, then a lot of those responsibilities, and it's talked about this in the statute, you know, DPW or whatever town department sort of takes over those responsibilities for cemeteries maintained by the town. So, you know, for the committee's purposes, you really should think about, you know, the things that you heard about what that committee does and whether or not you want to keep it elected or not. And then the administrative part, we're actually going to get into a section about administrative organization, but that really isn't, or would not usually be charter level items, so to speak. So I'll stop here if there's any questions, and I can get into the document.
No, I mean,
But I did want to share that after the conversation.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, and I agree with that. I think in this case, it's just, it's personal to the town. The cemetery really is kind of a jewel there. I mean, not that everything is in the town we do. I think this is just their main concern with, and the issue isn't, do we have a commission, is it elected or appointed? I don't think we're really discussing that at this point, right? I think we're pretty much saying that they stay elected. The point is,
No.
Pardon?
So no, you know, so
I'm not
you said,
sure.
we're pretty much saying that.
No, we're not saying, so we're still talking about whether they should be elected or appointed.
Yes.
I
Okay.
would hope so.
Okay. But beyond that, I thought that the really main question was, where does the cemetery director report? And I know you say it doesn't go in the charter, but the charter says everybody except these people report to the town manager. So, you know, and so we just want, this is to me, it's not it is getting into the weeds, but the purpose is to make sure that everybody's comfortable. If we say we're gonna change the reporting, that people are comfortable that it's not gonna mess this up because of what was presented tonight. That's where I am. I don't know. Yes, no?
No.
Continue with
Yeah.
the find out where things are?
Yeah.
Okay.
If
And then we'll
nothing
probably learn,
else-
Anthony, I hear what you're saying, we're gonna get there, and the finance people are gonna say, it's all in Mass General Law, blah, 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 this is how it works, and we say, okay, great, now we know.
Got Charlotte.
No problem. And if you want to carve them out, we wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but we could do that. And that would be something we could carve out the head of that department and again, put in those exemptions for who points to the town administrator. So the conversation went to a lot of weeds about the findings, so I just wanted to sort of level set there.
Appreciate that. All right, Charlotte?
Yeah, thanks. I think part of it was answered just now in the discussion, but to me they are very much interconnected because I think when we last discussed appointed versus elected, a lot of that had to do with how the cemetery commission maintains control and vision and strategy, which then is very much related to how the department head, so to speak, reports into the town, and those two are interrelated. So I think it is important to discuss them both as we have, and I do foresee that putting that reporting line into the charter is going to have an impact also on our conversation about elected versus appointed. So I don't know, to me they do seem related, and we would have to formalize them in the charter in some way, otherwise you would have a floating department that doesn't have any reporting structure. You'd have to codify it somewhere.
Just so Carolyn knows, the consultants were just saying, you know, normally we would not get into the detail we're talking about doing with the finance and so on. Okay. And he said most of this is defined by Mass General Law, so there really isn't. But because if we make a change, we want people to feel comfortable, we are going to go ahead and have that conversation, even though we may go to finance and they may say, it's all in Mass General Law, this is how it works, there's no deviation, you're going to be okay, but then we'll know.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, fine.
So we're going to go forward with that.
Okay.
But that's what they were just suggesting, that we didn't need to do that. From a charter standpoint, we wouldn't get into that level of detail normally, okay?
Understood. Okay, thank
But it's
you.
really for you guys, because we really want to make sure that people are comfortable and we do this right.
Okay,
Okay?
perfect.
Is that fair?
Good.
Okay. All right, so Anthony, Mel, you want to continue on with what we go to next year?
Yeah, so I'll start with, well, let me start with where you are, which is the other elected. I'll share my screen. So this is the updated charter, which you should have, or updated draft, which you should have seen recently. And this is what I did most recently. I took the things from the memos that you'd received, I think up until September, and just included them here in the charter document, plus some of the, I wouldn't say decisions, but some of the things that we gleaned from what the commission seemed to want as it was sort of interviewing all these various committees. So I'll skim over this fairly quickly,
Yep.
but a lot of this is the same that was in the memo from September for this section. So other elected officials, some things about eligibility, vacancy, the elections, things of that nature, elected town moderator, elected town clerk. This is a sort of we're confirming if this is a change, but there was a change about moving the Board of Assessors from an elected position to an appointed position. So we've identified that. We probably would keep this in some way identified, because then we want to do something in the transition section, which is the last article of the charter. But, you know, it's highlighted here because it would be removed.
Okay, but
Again,
the
this is
wording
the same.
needs to be changed, though, because it still says each elected for a term of 3 years. So we need updated wording on that, though.
Well, again, the note I had was that the committee was planning to remove it, so it would be, this would be.
So it won't be in this section
removed.
at all. I see, that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Then we have the Housing Authority, which I believe the committee was planning to keep.
Yep,
The Board of Library Trustees, which the committee's planning to keep.
yep.
The Planning Board, I know that there's some discussion about the terms here.
Yeah, could you
but-
highlight that 5 years? Because I think that they're going to want to change that to 3, but they haven't met yet, so we don't have that officially from them yet. I mean, we have said we want it to be 3 years, but we wanted to hear from them just to make sure that they were on board also. And if they're not, then we'll have to have another discussion, but.
Yeah, and I also sent, it's a pretty short chart, but just using the 10 comparator towns.
Yeah.
So, of the majority have 5-year terms, but some do have 3 and even 4-year terms for this board. The Board of Parks Commissioners, again, keeping that elected, sort of no changes to the current structure. The board, so we had a discussion in the memo about combining the Board of Light and Water Commissioners. I believe, my understanding was that the committee wanted to keep them separate. So this is the separate Board of Light and Board of Water Commissioners, 5 members appointed to terms. So one of the unique things here is that, particularly for the Water Commission, you've got some special acts that created the Littleton Water Commission. So we're just sort of directing the reader to those special acts in addition to pulling out some of the important things that the Board of Water Commissioners can do here under their powers and duties. You just had the conversation about the cemetery commissioners. I'll just highlight it because it seems like that is still ongoing. But currently, this current draft keeps it as an appointed position.
So do we
Same
want to
thing
talk
for the
about that
Board of
now?
Health.
Which?
Cemetery, do we want to keep it elected, or do we want to say go to appointed?
I think it should stay elected.
I don't see anything that the elected side can do any different than we could do it by appointed. And it's just another election that goes on. I don't see a whole lot of, well, the chart doesn't tell us that cemetery, or people are out there pounding on the door to become cemetery commissioners and be elected.
You should, Carolyn, while you're here, so normally when there is an opening on the cemetery commission, how does that get fulfilled? Is it kind of a, we find somebody and then we tell them, we get them to run?
There haven't been many lately.
There haven't been many,
but,
right.
I think everybody who's come since I've kind of known
Mhm.
is, I mean, I went to a couple of the meetings. I was interested in the cemetery. When I heard something was coming up, I was there, so I said I'd like to. Andrew, I think, was the same thing. I've been the same.
Right.
So I think it's kind of word of mouth. And we've had 2 or 3 other people say, hey, are there any positions coming up? So I think for the most part, people have come to the cemetery looking for positions to be
If you have a appointed commission, it would be much easier for the superintendent to be appointed and report directly to the town manager than it will be if it's an elected commission. Because they're gonna make policy that maybe the town manager is not happy with that, so.
We haven't
Isn't that the
determined
case with the other
what the
commissions as well?
town manager-
Yeah,
But I mean, the reason I'm saying elected is because the presentation we heard the first time, and what we heard a little bit about tonight, was that community aspect, and same as like Park and Rec. It's a community service, a community issue. They also have those separate funds, which I don't think should be appointed. I like the idea of having elected people
well,
overseeing.
the appointed commission is still going to be from the community.
Right.
And
Yes.
management of funds is still gonna be management of funds by the appointed Board of Commissioners, so I don't see any advantage to continue to have this an elected board, especially in light of the report that we got from the, in November.
Government study.
To start looking at all these multiple elected boards in town and make sure that there's some good reason, overriding reason, that we should have elected versus appointed.
I don't, so I too, I think that the transition, some of the stuff that I've read, we can have the language that goes with regard to all those that are elected continue to serve out their terms, at which time terms expire and they become appointed, et cetera. And to be honest, what would I expect? I would expect the same people that are currently elected to continue as appointed, and we continue. And I think goes to Ivan's point of however we structure this with the details that we need to talk offline and work through with regard to the money aspect, it has to have teeth. And I'm one for all of these. It's a much broader than just cemetery. I'm into some aspect of Park and Rec, for example. I wasn't here, I tried to get into the meeting, but I wasn't here for your deliberation in September with regard to Park and Rec. I believe Park and Rec should be flipped from elected to appointed. But that's a separate issue, but my point is, in transitioning, we can't lose,
Oh, no, then, yeah, I
we
don't.
can't lose that community aspect that is
Right.
motivating Karen, motivating Ellen, motivating me. Whether we're saying elected or appointed, we don't want to lose that special aspect of it.
You want to say anything to that, Carolyn? It's okay, I mean, just, well, not to that, to the topic, not to Robert's.
I do, I mean, I saw Maureen was here a few weeks ago with the Park and
Yep.
Rec Commission, and he mentioned town government, local government. I just feel like if we take all of these and make them appointed, you're taking the government out of the hands of the residents. And that's one of the things about being in a small, not that we're a really small town, but a small town, is the government. And I think that's the point that Saul was trying to make too, is that it's that community of, electing our officials and having them kind of, if we're choosing them, they report to us in a way. But if you're just up there appointing everybody, which I still, I mean, like you say, it's what's the difference? It's gonna
Probably
be
gonna be the same people.
Same people.
Right.
But to then, you know, and who's gonna do all the appointing? Who's gonna go out and solicit people to run for these?
What does it today? I mean, the current board does it. I mean, that's what we found with a lot of these things. It's kind of the same process. It's just at the end, instead of saying, go pull papers or do a write-in, it's like, we're gonna go and make a submission, ask the,
You
to get
send in
appointed.
your resume, tell them you're interested, and if the right board,
I mean,
I don't know, I guess just for me, it's like, that's part of Littleton, and what I like about the government in Littleton is that I have some say in it.
Right. Yeah, but
But do you really? Because if there's only ever one person running, you don't have the say. You don't vote for them, they're still gonna win.
Right, but
You have
I
no
mean-
more say.
right, but we were saying the same thing with like representative town meeting, don't we have that anyways? If only 200 people show up, we're representing everyone in the town, so, you know, so there'd be fewer people, but I don't know, I still feel that, like with cemetery, I know there were a couple of other people who wanted to run, but they find out that the incumbents wanted to stay, and
Exactly.
they back off. But,
But there's actually, I mean, part of that's the whole voter engagement thing and civic engagement and encouraging people to run, even though there is an incumbent, but to have that as
but
part of
then
the
if it's
process.
gonna be the same anyways, what's the difference?
Well, you're giving people a choice.
well, I'd like to address, I mean, I've looked, since the Board of Health, or Board of Assessors, excuse me, it's staggering. The people that have been voted in recently, yeah. 4 out of the 5 have been write-in candidates, one receiving 8 votes.
But the Board of Assessors is scary, because I wouldn't be on the Board of Assessors, I have no
No,
idea what to do.
I'm just trying to point out how I think I'm scared of somebody that can get as few as 8 votes, write-in, can all of a sudden be on a very important board for our community.
That's
So-
what town volunteerism is, right?
Okay, but that's also something that I'm dealing with regard to, I want to make certain that we really have, and they're capable people. I think we're very, very fortunate, but I feel like it's a potential near miss.
But someone could go now and try to find someone to run for election,
And-
say
and-
this the appointment, so why isn't that being done now?
And-
we can see what we're
and-
gonna do in the future.
Katrina gave a phenomenal presentation with regard to all the steps that the library trustees take to cultivate potential future members, and they even have candidate classes with regard to understanding what, you know, trustees do. So there are ways, again, I don't want to lose any of the specialness, but I'm not swayed with regard to that we're going to really lose what is so valued today. I think we can maintain that. That's just my opinion, you see it differently, and I respect that.
I think if write-ins, it should be more than 8
Yeah.
to win.
well, I mean, you can have a bad
Especially
actor,
for
someone who
such-
wants to just cause trouble, and they get 10, and then they're in. I mean, that's
How
the
about
concern there,
26,
but it could happen.
24,
Go ahead.
31?
It should be at least as many signatures as you need to run.
That's right.
To win the write-in.
I have a question slash
Sure.
comment. But before we do that, first and foremost, thank you all very much for your service on a crappy night like this. Get together and talk about things that oftentimes we as people in town don't think about. So very impressed just.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Alex Bender, 85 Wickham Avenue.
Thank you.
Been in town for a better part of the last 10 years, grew up in Acton, so, local. As far as the appointment versus the election, my initial thought was very much along lines with yourself over here. Mike, who's much smarter than me, brought up a point that I think would be interesting to at least have talked about in this. If somebody is appointed, then they are the responsibility of the person who appointed them, and if they don't do their job, then it comes back to that person who appointed them, correct?
Absolutely.
So if you're elected, you serve out your term regardless of whether you do your job. And then you get bounced out. So for somebody looking for just like general checks and balances, I can see arguments made on both cases, but I thought that was a very interesting point that Mike brought up, and at least to see some nods in here that that's an actual fact, I think is an interesting point, particularly given the dialogue that's happened up until this point.
Yeah, there's actually language with regard to, and it may apply to elected, but I recall reading it more from an appointed standpoint. There's different components, should people decide it's worthy, with regard to if you miss 3 consecutive meetings, or if you miss 4 in a year, you know, that gives the majority of the members of the body that exists the right to declare the seat vacant, and that appointed person is moved. Now, having said that, I know from working through different boards and committees, because we have this in Littleton that have struggled with this and taken it select board to say, we're requesting you to allow us to remove this person. So you just don't do that automatically, routinely. You have the chair, the vice chair work out with the, you know, that person that at once was really interested. Is there something going on, et cetera? But there are ways, is my point in bringing this up, should we want to go that route with regard to language that provides for somebody's on a 3-year term and they're really not doing what they ought to be doing. There's ways that can have some teeth with regard to, you have to participate when you volunteer. The community expects you to fulfill, or the appointing board expects you to fulfill, such as well.
But it's a process, and it takes a while too, so if it's a 3-year term, it may take a couple of years to, depending on what it is, but, yeah. But you're right, I mean, you're absolutely right, there is a way.
I think based on
Easy to remove a non-functioning member if it's an appointment.
That's correct.
It's very difficult to recall an elected official.
That's the point.
Yes.
That's the point that I'm trying to make.
And they may get elected again.
Yeah, just need a couple write-ins.
I know.
That's the concerning part to me, is some of these boards that require expertise in their field. If someone can, if I can get on the board of assessors by just asking 5 of my neighbors to write my name in, that's concerning, because I would rather have that position appointed, have their resume vetted, have their background vetted, and then a board make a recommendation to appoint an expert versus me, who I'm just friendly with my neighbors.
Which is why, and we're not there yet, but some of those hybrid models
Right.
were appealing.
Right. Okay, let's, you'll remind me, we do have the consultants online, but I,
But I knew it was coming, brought him in.
do you want to, do you feel like we're in a position to take a vote on what you want to do with, whether the commissioners are elected or appointed, or you want to?
Want to let them have that offline meeting first, and then?
Well, I don't know that matters about the elected, or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Okay, we could wait to get that data if you want to.
Either way.
I don't know that it does, but.
No? Yeah.
I know how I feel about it already.
I've declared how I am.
If not everybody is sure the way they want to go, then let's wait till after the meeting. And
Okay, all
see
right,
what falls out of
let's hold that one then, okay.
So you're holding and you're moving.
We're gonna hold off on elected versus appointed for the cemetery commissioners right now, till after the other
Understand.
meeting.
So the next one is the Board of Health, which is in as an elected board. Betsy, you did provide me with, and the board has done some research around hybrid boards, which the committee is interested in. And so, and again, I'd actually learned something from that there was one in Medway. I did call Medway just to see how it works. There are sort of no problems identified in terms of having this hybrid board. There could be, as the discussion a few minutes ago sort of elaborated on, there is some there are some different incentives when you're elected versus appointed. Oftentimes you want to appoint, if you're appointing people, as was in the chart that we provided the committee a few months ago now, you'd be looking to appoint people based on sort of some level of knowledge, experience, sometimes expertise. So those might be sort of counterbalancing factors versus someone who's sort of, and I don't mean this as a pejorative, but politically motivated, they're interested for some reason, versus someone that's approaching a topic from a more, more of a sort of expert sort of perspective. So that has very interesting. And when I called to Medway, they didn't seem to have any. It has some negative impact. So this is highlighted. If the board wants to sort of make that decision, the primary questions would be: do you want to weight the board heavily towards the number one? Do you want to keep the membership the same in terms of the quantity of members? That's one. Number two, how do you want to weight the membership towards appointments versus elected officials? That's That's two. And then three, do you want to keep the terms the same? Generally, do you want to have different terms for different types of appointed positions? So those would be the three decision points if you want to change what's currently in existing as a fully appointed, as a fully elected board. So I'll stop here and see if there's any conversation.
Same number. We can start
Same
there.
number,
Yep.
and just have two appointed
I would
and three
say-
elected?
Yeah.
I would go 3 appointed, 2
3 appointed?
elected. I would actually just go for all appointed,
And the Board of
but,
Health?
and for the purposes of appeasing a wider audience, I would be willing to say 3 appointed, 2 elected.
'Cause you had your
Based on my
experience.
personal
Based on your personal experience and.
For what Anthony mentioned about people with political motives, I'll rehash the story. So, I was in a district with a fully appointed Board of Health. Their money entered the political scene from outside. The mayor flipped it to a fully elected position from outside, with outside political funds. Everyone who got elected was funded from outside of the state. And then they flipped the Board of Health's recommendations. This was during COVID, which was a politicized thing in and of itself for whatever reason. But they flipped all the recommendations from the CDC, and they said no more, no more mask mandates, no vaccinations required. So I felt, and I'm not a doctor, which is why I wouldn't be on this board. I have no medical experience. But it seems like if money can come in from outside of the community and even outside of the state to influence elections for a town's health, then I would not support that, just based on my experience. Because I don't think you can rely on the goodwill of an elected official for something as serious as public health.
And yet, let me just ask, are you concerned with regard to what we've, seen in the 2 times the Board of Health is here? So I'm asking that question as a lead into Hull, again, one of our 10 comparable communities, has language they've flipped in their charter, Board of Health and Park and Rec, with specific language that said those 2 groups will continue the terms until the terms expire of the elected people, at which time they'll switch to appointed. And I didn't know as to how many years ago Hull did their thing.
I would assume, Rob, that any of these that we switch will go that way.
But I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
I've identified a town that actually has the exact language
Yeah.
that we can just rip off, should we want to rip that up. It was 1989, so they've been functioning, after that transition.
Who would make the appointments?
Well, then
It could that be political too? Couldn't you?
Yeah, so that's the point.
Couldn't you have someone who wants to get something done and he's gonna appoint 5 people?
Well, that's
I
the
don't know, I
conversation
mean,
that other people raise, like, oh, the power will be concentrated in one group or one whatever, but.
So there you-
I'm the type of person that when I go to the doctor, which I went to the doctor today, actually, I don't,
They weren't
I don't
elected.
argue with my doctor. I'd say, okay, we talked about, popular health crazes and advice from podcasts, but I'm like, you know what? You're my doctor. You just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Because you're the expert. I'm not the expert.
So Joe, I'd respond, I think in deliberations, again, we've identified, I think, as our straw man, that the select board, an elected group, is going to be the quote chief policy-making, group. So in that regard, if the select board makes the appointments, or if they're brought forward, there can be numerous ways that we can do this. It could be from the existing multi-member body can make a, recommendation that then goes before the select board or goes to a TA or a TM, whichever term you want, to then proceed on to make it happen. So you've still got ways in order to keep the specifics
I see what
of.
you're saying, and I agree with that aspect of it.
Okay.
I was just, in my mind, all of a sudden, I was thinking of one person making the appointment.
Yeah, no,
And then we should never think that. I mean, if we're in that position, then we've got bigger issues than that, okay? So, and we can put some wording in here, because you got some good wording places. where that's not the case, like these appointments and hiring people, I mean, other people have to be involved. And if you hire somebody in that position of town manager or town administrator, I mean, that's a big part of their job, is to hire people, and you gotta hire the right people by including the right people, so, I mean, you have to assume these things are.
It is, but I do think we should have some discussion with regard to, as we are considering these multi-member bodies and potentially changing them, you know. So should it be to a 1, a TA or a TM, or should it to be a 5 from a select board? Because most of the other communities do have the appointing authority to either be the 1 or the select board.
So we will have to have that discussion. Right now, I just want to have the discussion of Board of Health.
Betsy?
Real quick.
Yep.
Madam
Go
Chair,
ahead, please.
sorry to interrupt. Just Charlotte has had her hands up for a
Oh,
while.
okay,
There's
sorry.
been a couple of rounds, but I just wanted to just let you know, in case you didn't see.
Let me let Charlotte go and
Yeah,
then
go for it.
me. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I first of all just reiterate, I think it's important to note that if we are talking about appointments for any of these boards, then there is the option to have the appointments made by elected officials. And so you do have that counterbalance, right, of 5 elected officials that the community has elected and chosen to be their select board representatives. And then theoretically, they could be the ones making those appointments. So you are delegating the authority via your elected representatives. My question was going to be around the hybrid model. Is there a compelling reason we'd want to have this hybrid model applied to the Board of Health versus other boards? What's the rationale for saying that the Board of Health in particular should have a carve out and be hybrid versus the others, which seem, we haven't really discussed hybriding the other ones. I couldn't quite figure that out.
I'll use it. I think
if
you
there's
said.
a good reason for it.
I think you said it at the last meeting. There should be some aspect of expertise or demonstrated experience in some health field, whether it's narrow, and I think you counseled us not to have it too narrowly worded, and I think we found some language that can provide for that, and we can modify the language. But I think it's that basis.
But are we
that-
then saying, because that would argue for appointed, but are we saying that because there seems to be such good arguments on both the appointed and the elected sides that we're hybriding? Otherwise, that argument that you just shared, Rob, would lean us towards appointed. Are we just sort of splitting the difference?
Why not just make them all appointed then? I think that's what you're saying. Why not just make them all
Yeah, that's fine.
appointed?
I mean, somebody else said that earlier.
Trying to balance the interest of, some people like the charm of having the local direct election, so you're trying to get the well-composed board with expertise, but having the balance. I would just encourage you, as you're thinking through this, you can separate the nominating function from the appointing function, which is very common for the board made up of experts to develop a well-composed board for 3 to 5 years, and then they nominate, but then the appointing authority is different than the nominating authority, so, keep that.
Thank you. So,
Just to throw a little wrinkle on this that might split the difference, I stumbled across, I think it's Weston uses a caucus to nominate candidates for all the elected positions. So, I guess similar to a town meeting, everybody gets together, you nominate and vote for up to 2 people for each position, who would then go to the town election. Or you can pull papers if you don't want to go through that process, so.
in most cases, we don't have 2 people trying that. The issue is more that we don't have 2 people trying to go for a spot,
And
unfortunately.
it looked like in their case, many
Right.
times,
Right.
they were just nominating one person for
Yeah.
each spot, but,
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
but it's a,
Different,
Different.
another model. And I'm
Another
bringing
model.
Okay, great. Okay, so somebody want to make a proposal? How do we want to proceed with this? Because I want to move on, because we got the guys on the.
Can I just add
Let's
a
not move
couple?
on if the sense of the board is they're ready to vote. If they're not, we move on.
Anthony or
Anthony?
Mel?
Somebody else want to say something?
I just wanted to add just a couple, I guess wrinkles, I suppose. So, in terms of the appointment, there is some flex, if you were I'm not pushing a point, but if you were to move to be.
Yeah, I can't-
You
I can't hear
need your volume, you need to
Oh.
get closer to your microphone, Anthony.
Sorry,
hear
can
you.
you hear me now? Yeah, if you were to.
No,
move
still
to a
can't hear
point
you.
where- Oh,
That's better.
It might be
Can you hear
in
me now?
the room. I can hear Anthony very well.
All right, keep going.
can you hear me now?
Not
Okay.
very
Well, I
well.
was just gonna say, just to add some, I'm just letting you know that there can be more flexibility in the appointment, in that you can allow, it could just be the select board to make the appointment. You can have the, I'm going through the sort of the most, frequent ways for these types of appointments. You can have the administrator do the appointment with the approval of the select board. So it's not just binary, that it has to be the select board or
Yep.
the administrator. I just wanted to sort of let the committee know that.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about that than just what do we want it to be. I think we can get the process okay.
Yeah.
That's personally, but, so what are we thinking? We want to continue with hybrid? Do we want to say 3 appointed, 2 elected? Or the other way around, or do you want to think about this and talk next week? Or next meeting?
Re-elected, 2 appointed, was that what you said, Karen?
Yeah, that's,
Well,
we didn't have it up there, but that's,
That was the original, and then
yeah.
yeah,
Kyle made the suggestion of 3, but we could
I
do 2.
could, I could support that.
2. You want to do that?
3 re-elected, 2 appointed.
Re-elected, 2
a hybrid
appointed?
Board of Health.
I think Charlotte asked a really good question. When are we going to use appointed? When are we going to use elected? When are we going to use hybrid? And we've now introduced a hybrid model. I think that in this case, Board of Health, having a hybrid model could make sense so that you have that medical expertise. You know, every one of our departments in this town has expertise. Finance, HR, DPW, but I do, if we are going to introduce the premise of a hybrid model, I could be convinced that a hybrid model for the health, Board of Health might serve us well.
Yeah, I think when we brought this up last time, we were just gonna go through what we thought was appropriate for each group and then step back and say, okay, now,
Does it make
what did we do?
Right.
You know, and what's the
Right.
rationale for one hybrid and one?
Right.
And kind of analyze it that way, but I think now we're just trying to get through the list, and based on what we've heard, what do we think is the best go forward?
Yeah, and I think the discussion started, we were looking at, from years past when there was a requirement that one of the elected members had to be a physician,
Right.
and the town, moved away from that.
Because you don't always have one available. Right.
Right.
But having 2 public health people of some
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
what we were saying, right? Okay, so we're gonna go with that for now, we'll put that in, and like I said,
Yeah.
nothing's done till it's done, so.
Right.
3 and 2?
Okay, so 3 elected, 2 appointed, Anthony and Mel, and the 2, do we wanna say that the 2 appointed are the necessarily the public health people? Or, I mean, you could have an elected person is, and then the appointed wouldn't have to be. What do you think?
I don't
Well,
know
I-
how
You wait
we-
for
I
that
can just,
restriction in there?
maybe make this easier than have the board debate
Okay.
tonight. I can draft some language that says something about having experience within the medical field of public health. I can put some language together and present that.
The
The people who are passionate about it are the ones who are inclined to run, then you're gonna end up a homogenous board of
Right,
all
right.
medical
Yeah.
experts.
Right,
if
so
you
I
do
would not,
it.
we wouldn't wanna restrict it, right?
Being on the Personnel Advisory Committee, I happen to know that there is a sentence in the charter or whatever for that committee that says, and preferably shall include town residents, not town is requirement, but shall include people with HR experience.
Okay.
And not get much more detailed
detailed
than
than
that.
that.
Public health experience,
Right, right.
or health or public health experience.
Okay. Okay, let's do it. So we got that one. Next. Commissioners of Trust
Just writing
Funds?
down just writing down the note.
Okay.
So the next, the notice I got was on the removal for the Board of Commissioners of Trust Funds. This is a board that manages, or I guess has historically managed bequests to the town. I think that the conversation with the committee, based on some research, is that, committee towns do receive sort of bequests. If there are some stipulations on them, the town, through its finance, through its treasury and financial department often handles that. Some towns handle it themselves. You don't necessarily need a board of commissioners of trust funds. I know that the spreadsheet had these as being uncompetitive races. So what I gleaned from the committee was that it was to move this, keep the commission, but move it to appointed is what I.
Yeah, that was a glean, that was a directive, yep.
Yeah. So that's it for this section. There's some other sections. There's some cleanup actually even in the town administrator and the select board sections that we could go through. But that's it for the other elected boards.
So Betsy, before he moves off of that, going back to water, is sewer
Good question.
Is sewer within the statements proposed in this version of the charter? And should it not be? I know we've got the bylaw that it was done, and I've got notes somewhere that reference where it was done, but I don't want that lost.
I don't know how it's legally, is it part of the water department sewer, or is it a separate group?
It's part of the water department.
We should be covered, but we should, well,
think there's
confirm
a-
that with town council, I
I
guess,
think
I
there's
don't
a
know.
bylaw that.
What's that?
I think there was a town meeting motion that reflected that I would just want to make certain that that's not being undone as a result. Well, charter can overrule, et cetera.
I think we did that, and I'll find that thing that came back from the attorney,
Yeah.
because she spelled it out with a recommendation, which I don't think is in this.
And that's why I'm
Let me
bringing
find it
it
and
up.
I'll,
Our selectman has it.
Yes, Mark?
So the water also has, the sewer actually has the special legislation that probably calls some of that out too, so
It does.
just make sure that whatever agrees with that.
Right, that's.
yeah,
we
I
had
have
this
it, I
wording
have
from
it someplace
from the
where it
other
came
place.
back.
Thought that there was a
It's not in this.
Okay. All right, can we, then, Anthony, can we move on? Can we look at the school department one a little bit, to see what we have to do there?
Sure.
School committee, that's section 4 in the document, so you're going back forward towards the front more.
So this is the first time you guys will be seeing this new section on the school committee. So this is, the other elected board that's called out, and it's really its own article because of its importance. Just before we get into the article itself, generally, the school committee article in most charters is very short. What schools do is, in education generally is heavily regulated by state law. And so primarily the things that you do here is you would define the size of your school committee, as well as the terms of office. So here we've got a 5-member school committee with a 3-year term of office, arranged such that there are overlapping terms, so no more than 2 members can be elected at any regular election. So overlapping terms. And then sort of this is fairly broad in terms of referencing to the fact that the school committee oversees the school department, and appoints the superintendent, as well as oversees the budget and various other things for the schools. And then lastly, and this can vary somewhat from community to community, my general understanding is that this looks like the structure of Littleton, but I could be wrong, which is that they're going to have a chair and a vice chair who sort of manage their meetings, and these are some of the sort of what you'll see is sort of the general requirements for the chair and vice chair. One thing that is frequent, although I didn't put it here because I wasn't sure. Sometimes you can also say the board secretary for the it's either the secretary or the clerk for the school committee. So you will see that in some communities, some charters, but generally that's the gist of this section.
So should we have them come in, or just send this wording out to somebody and say, is this right or not?
Yeah, I'd like could he move up so we see the end of the point that he's on? No, sorry. I guess I meant going down and I said up, I apologize. Yeah, I just want to see that last sentence. The question I'd have is, with the select board, there's specific language that we've discussed that states that the select board will not be involved in day-to-day operations. I think that same thing exists with regard to the school committee, and I question whether the language exists in this. I'm not saying that other charters have this language, but I think in operation, I think the school committee is operating with that same perspective, and I think that's something that may be worthwhile to copy and paste, if you will, from the select board. Stay out of the day-to-day operation. I think the intent of the school committee is that the superintendent runs the operation, and the school committee is a policy making, and review of the
I just assume there's
superintendent.
probably laws about, this stuff is so regulated anyway, right? Mark and Mike both know, yep.
I have a similar related question. I know there is a town bylaw that says the process we have to go through to hire a new town administrator. Is there a comparable thing for a new superintendent, or should there be? There's a bylaw that says, how we form a search committee and who's on the search committee and everything. Should there be a similar process for the superintendent, or should there not be the process for the town administrator, or?
I suspect that the school board would not be happy to have it any other way than it is now. That they make the decision of what the process is to hire a superintendent.
And also to clarify that what's in the charter, what's in the bylaw can be different.
Anthony,
Or-
can you speak up a little bit, please? Anthony,
What's-
sorry.
The charter is at a different level than the bylaw, so there's often much less detail about some of these things in the charter than would be in the bylaw. Like, we definitely have sections of the bylaw about the hiring of the town administrator, and you could add more detail in the bylaw. And Mel, I thought you had your hand up with a comment on that same topic.
Well, I was just going to say that Chapter 71 is very detailed, and especially after school choice and school, I should say, the school reform law, maybe about 15 years ago. So we could find that to make sure it's in there. I'm suspecting it is, and it's not required to write in the charter, even notwithstanding what Anthony said. You might not put those in the charter anyway, but I think in this particular case, the school law in the state is very precise.
I'm not questioning hiring of the superintendent. I know the school committee has that right. I'm questioning the process you get to hiring them, right? Like, the select board hires the TA, but there is an entire process that's outlined in a bylaw. I don't know if a similar process exists currently for the superintendent, or if there should be.
And whether it should be in the charter or elsewhere.
Yes.
All right, so Mel, you're gonna look to see what the wording is in Mass General Law about that?
Yeah,
What
I mean,
it
I know
says?
it's in there, but I doubt there's anything that says anything talking about a screening committee or anything like that. So I'll tell you that right now. And that's probably not the language you'd look for in your charter, but maybe in a bylaw, school committee policy.
So, but that might be a reason to chat with the school committee. I find it shocking that we have, what do they represent? 60% of the annual budget? I don't know, it's a significant part. And we have 40 pages on the select board side of the operation. We have 3 paragraphs.
No, but that's how it is.
I understand, but to Mark's point,
Yeah.
I'd be interested in understanding, what is the process? And is the school committee involved with regard, like we've discussed subordinates, not just department heads, but who hires and fires subordinates? Is that strictly the superintendent? We did have questions at the public forum. I think there were 2 people at the public forum that asked about how does the charter deal with school committee issues, and I didn't think we were able to answer the questions at that point in time, which has led us to, because we hadn't addressed it yet. And here we are addressing it tonight. I just think it might be worthwhile to understand a little bit more of, what we see, this lengthy dialogue with regard to the charter pertaining to the select board side of the hiring and dismissal and suspensions of the TA or a TM, et cetera, and we have next to nothing. Maybe it's all in Chapter 71 of Mass General Law.
And so I just asked Mel to find out for us.
90% of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, but even if I find out the answer, it's not going to go in the charter anyway, so.
But we do it for the TA and the TM. That, my point, Ellen, would be, if it's.
I know, but, we'll do it in here as opposed to doing it in a bylaw. Now it's in writing or in stone now in a charter. But I can't see anything going in a charter that's going to talk about the process of hiring a superintendent for the school committee.
But yet you're for it with regard to a TA and a TM.
Well,
They really are complementary. I mean, Rob's right on that. They really are, they're peers, basically, right? Go ahead, what?
Well, no, the superintendent is, again, it's much more defined under state law about who can be a superintendent, the process for certification, all those other things. So there's, like I said, this is why these sections are usually very short. There's much more in state law around again, schools, education generally.
We need that.
We
superintendents.
understand that, Anthony. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I just want to get going here. But we understand that. We just want to see what some of it is. Just to get an understanding of what it says, that's all. So if you can get us that would be great. Charlotte?
Maybe to that point, Anthony, in terms of the charter being a place to add clarity on some of these topics, is it worth expanding slightly the section to highlight some of those relevant or sort of more digestible pieces of information from the legal policy? So for example, I think that chapter 71, it does say, right, that the superintendent has executive authority to hire, to evaluate, to dismiss, to manage the daily operation of the schools, to prepare the school budget, blah, blah, blah. So if there is a way, or if that's appropriate, it might be helpful to have a little bit of extra detail, even if it is just regurgitating what is in that chapter 71, and I say that recognizing you don't want to make the charter super long, but it could help with transparency.
It doesn't hurt just to put a paragraph in or lines in saying, because most of this stuff is defined by Mass General Law, that number, this section is, those details are found elsewhere. So I think that makes sense. I would like to do that anyway, because again, my point before was the whole school thing is, it's people who are in the know understand the schools are separate, but somebody else that reads this document is going to say, where's the school? It's 60% of our budget. So someplace in here we have to talk about those things. At a high level, just saying
and whether,
it's not here. It's on purpose. It's a feature, not a bug, that it's not here. Right.
Yeah, and I guess my question is, given that it all relates to number 71, unless I go and read that, I have no clue what that says. So is there a way to pull a few well-worded sentences that just highlights what we're talking about?
Probably not, unfortunately. But
No.
yeah, we can
Okay.
see if we can get a sentence maybe. But basically,
I think
you got to go read the
I think
law.
That's what this section is trying to do. I think I'm trying to summarize.
Okay.
Essential, but we will definitely do a little bit more work on what's in the state law, spell it out, and then you can make a decision whether you want to replicate some of that language in the charter.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we can
and then
take a
sort of
look
one
at
other
that.
question was, does this specify the eligibility requirements for the school committee officers? And sorry, I couldn't see as you were scrolling up and down. Does it say whether, for instance, they have to be residents of the town or not? Is that something that one would normally specify here?
If they're elected, then they have to be.
I mean, we could, but that's not, that's implied, from the fact that they're, but we could definitely write that,
Okay, thanks. No, thanks, that's, excuse me, helpful clarification, thank you.
Okay. That's what I have for the document today. Did we do enough of that? I have some other things to talk about. Wait, Anthony, you have something else you want to talk?
Yeah, just a clarifying question. You just wanted some more about the school committee generally, and you wanted to focus a little bit on the role of the superintendent as we're looking to pull some things from the state law to put in here. Did I hear that correctly?
We were wondering if there's specific things in state law about hiring the superintendent. Are there restrictions in terms of how involved the town can or cannot be in that process versus the school committee? I think that's basically the bottom line. Can the town define that more, the process for hiring the superintendent? Is that right?
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Is it the town? So you could have section 71 define it, or you could have the town define it, or you could have the school committee define it.
Well, let me, I guess, sort of speaking here. So this is gonna be a special act from the town that's gonna go up to the legislature. So in theoretically, if the legislature passes it, you can, with the charter, as we explained way back in the beginning, deviate from state law. However, and I think Mel's kind of alluded to this. This is
Town
one of the
manager's
most
gonna hire the
controversial
superintendent,
areas.
the school department doesn't have any say about it. That'll pass.
Yeah, this is one of the most controversial areas of state law. So, the more you tinker with how the schools work, I think you jeopardize the ability of your charter to be passed at this legislature.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's more just, I think, this way information, Anthony, so we understand. But I agree with you. And I think we all understand that. So thank you for reiterating it. But, because we know once, besides passing the town, it also has to get passed by the state legislature. And so if we do things they don't like, it won't happen. Okay. All right. Newsletter article, you want to talk about that, Charlotte? Did people get a chance to read it?
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
And just to let you know before we get off, and
Are we done with
Oh, yeah, I guess, right, we could probably let you guys go too, yep. So go ahead and tell what you want to do, and then we'll let you guys go.
well, I was gonna let you know, we plugged in, also here, there's some changes to the select board in the town administrator section, which we could talk about if you want, or you
All
can
right,
take
now
your
let's
time
do
to
it. Let's
digest
do
it
it.
for the next meeting.
No, let's do it. Where are you?
So we would go up to Article 3, the select board. I'm gonna skip over all the stuff that you have sort of done yourself, so, or that we've done previously, but the big ones, and I guess I think it was decided, but
Yes,
I'm not
it was.
sure, maybe just
Yep,
discussing this. You want the chief of police and the fire chief to be appointed by the select board. So we codified that. And then when you jump down to Article 6, which is the town administrator, we put some language in here for department heads who are supporting or working with an elected body, that the town manager shall consult with the respective elected boards or commissions or committees prior to making appointments or removals.
Where are you?
where are we? I don't have that page, oh, do I? Maybe it's up here.
I'm moving quickly, sorry. So, Article 6,
Oh,
the town
so you
administrator
moved down to
section.
Article 6 now. So
Yeah.
it's way
And
at
then
the
it's
end then. It's way at the
Section
end.
1.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that I got that highlighted, yep.
Which was around making sure that appointments or removals that are under the administrator's authority are done in consultation with the affected, boards or commissions.
Except that last sentence, it says all other town employees, but we also have to exclude police, fire, and schools, I think.
Well, this is for the department heads, but
Town manager consult with commissioner when making appointments, removals. The town manager shall approve department head's appointment and removal of all other town employees. The town manager gonna approve,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, so you said for police and fire, look a note there.
You spelled it, you called out light and water, but it should also be police, fire, and schools,
Police.
Yeah, so,
right?
I don't know if we want to expand this conversation, but if you go to item B,
Where are you?
I think this, Anthony, can you confirm, are you using a draft that's dated August 11th?
Right here.
I'm trying to, so we changed this, it was the most, whatever the last draft was, that was when we worked.
Well, that's what I'm
with.
asking, is that the last draft? That's what I think you're showing?
It really should be, every page should have a date on it. It's not that hard to do in Word if that's what you're using.
I have November.
Well, so we
Okay.
updated it. I had to go to the, I'm not sure right now which one I was using. This language actually came from a memo with some proposed language from us to you, I think the last time we were with you.
Yeah. So I might make a point that we might then decide, okay, let's talk about this at a different time. So I'm waiting for him to get back to it. So it's
Because
item,
this is the elected body, that's the point. Is that what this is getting?
Well, I want you to tell I'm back now, so Article 6, you were in B,
yeah.
paragraph B.
So item
paragraph
B, you've got this reference with regard, at least, yes, so the last sentence in item B, this section shall not apply to municipal light and water department. And I'm thinking like, okay, if it's said there, then that pertains to the entire section. So why do we need to specifically identify light and water in D? And then I would continue that concept if in fact what I just said is true, that item B excludes municipal light and water, then to Betsy, where I think the point that you were making, then we need school, because this section of section 1 would also not apply to schools unless it's already removed, schools is already removed from this entire section somewhere else in the document that I haven't seen the hook yet. But D didn't make any sense to, I don't want to have to read every single time this excludes light and water, school, and, library.
Would you
and
say that under the?
It shouldn't
first
be in B,
sentence?
though. It should be up in the top of that section then if we do that.
Wherever it should get addressed, but once it's done there, hopefully,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't have to repeat it
Town
numerous
manager should
times.
have the following duties, responsibilities in regards to all departments except da da
That's
da da.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Well, I think the short answer is yes, so we'll go back to it and sort of put together, I think we had this discussion before, so around a short, compact way of excluding these various departments from particularly the appointing authority and the supervisory authority of the town manager of these different departments. The one, or at least these called out ones, the light and water, the schools, and the police and fire.
In the library?
So fire and police will, the town, whatever we're calling the town manager or whatever it's gonna be, will supervise, direct, and be responsible for the efficient and coordinated administration of all town functions, including police and fire, correct? The town manager will be, in paragraph B, will supervise and direct and be responsible for the efficient and coordinated administration of all town functions, including police and fire. Not including water, not including light,
Not including
Not
schools.
including school.
not
And not
including,
including
and not
schools.
including schools.
So you're right, it's not
If
all
I
of
hear you
them.
correctly,
It's
you
not.
don't want them to be, to apply to light and water and fire in schools and police.
Yeah, but Kevin's point is B does apply to fire and police.
We can't accept fire and police out of this whole section. They are, we can't say that this section doesn't apply to fire and police.
Because we're saying that they will, right.
If
Correct?
we want to talk about the appointment of department heads for certain departments, we can, but we can't say this section.
Well, we can reorganize the section to have certain things that don't apply to those groups and put them together or not. You understand the point, Anthony?
No, I understand. I mean, I think that some of this is coming back to me. I mean, so supervise, direct, and be responsible. This B is different from D in that D is
Right.
focusing on the appointment, the hiring, the firing, so on and so forth. And B is more, I wouldn't say broader, but it's more about like, are we looking at how things are operating? So it sounds like this is a conscious decision to exclude light and water from B because they're sort of a separate, functioning entity, self-funded. But the manager, the manager administrator should be, talking or more intimately involved with police and fire.
Well, we're saying that they're gonna report to the town manager. So the select board our recommendation at this point is the select board hires the police chief and the fire chief, but they will report to the town manager
For day-to-day
for
operations.
day-to-day operations.
Yeah, so this,
Okay,
I mean,
so
this section
that's-
would cover that, yeah.
Thank you.
So for B, it should be light water department and school. This is the point where schools is always a problem, because you always have to say schools, if you're gonna do this right. But
Well,
get
we can, I
down,
mean, I think the easiest way to do that is we can just clarify that in the school section.
I don't think it is, because then it's not clear, somebody that reads this.
And I would agree with you, but I also say, what about the library with the First Amendment sort of thing with regard to Sam? I mean, there's a coordination that the TA or the TM does, but are we really saying that Jim supervises, First Amendment as presented to us, weeks ago, months ago? This area, I think, still needs a good bit of detail work, and I don't think we're prepared.
All right, we're not gonna figure it out tonight. We're gonna have to go out and look at some of those other charters and see what they've done. Yep,
The highlighted line that says,
Yep.
for department supporting an elected body, it should probably be all bodies, right? Like, if Park and Rec goes from an elected to appointed, they're no longer involved in any of the hiring of their department head?
That, this needs a good bit of work.
right.
It's in.
But yes, I think the answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
I mean, the committee did make
That's
a
not
decision several months ago, but maybe things have shifted to try to move towards closer to a town administrator with more control over the administration of the town, which would be placing most employees underneath their supervision. As you spread that out and you remove that, you do, it's hard for someone who doesn't have the ability to, discipline up to termination to be managing someone. So that was a discussion we did have a few months ago.
Yeah, maybe just looking at this, I think the committee seems fairly clear on what we want to say. I think the challenge is articulating that in a way that is concise in this document, because municipal light and water and schools sit outside of the town administrators or town management's direct authority. The police and fire chiefs are appointed by the select board but report to the town manager, so that's another sort of axis of this section. And then for department heads supporting either an elected or an appointed body, the town manager would consult with that respective elected or appointed board. So I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out how to matrix those different decisions into this section. And then my question was just going to be to the rest of the committee members, do we feel like shall consult with conveys enough significance of input? Because I was just going back over the notes, and that was one of the things that came up again and again, that all of the boards and committee members wanted to have significant input into these appointments. And if we think shall consult with is good enough, and that's great wording, fine, but.
Yeah, we can come back. I think Rob found, we're gonna get some wording from some of the other charters,
Yeah.
then we'll rework this section. Let's just say we're gonna mark it as a rework and do some more work on it.
I think that's smart.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
there is
So
more.
we're gonna
to
hold
this.
this until next time.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And we may get you some updates in the meantime.
Yeah, and we've got some of the, or we've got, a lot of the comparative charters and other charters, so we'll take a look too. But yeah, we can all take a look and come back. And I think those were it for sort of the important call outs. Just scrolling here to double check. Mel, did you have anything on the town manager section you wanted to call out for the committee?
No, I think we're ready to talk more about this, section D, which talks about elected boards, whether you want to extend that to appointed boards. I think this is a very fun.
Mel, we're gonna rework that whole page. That whole section we
Yeah.
think needs to be reworked,
Okay.
so.
Well, I think there's some decision points, just in addition to the language.
Okay,
For example, do you want to include elected plus appointed boards under that section D?
yes?
Yes, that's right.
Why wouldn't we? But anyway.
One decision point down.
Something else on that one?
No, that's all I had.
Okay.
Did we sort of make a decision about deputy town moderator?
I think we did.
I thought we did, and I
Is it
don't.
not in here?
I don't think so. I don't know if we gave that
No,
determination to Anthony and Mel.
we did. We said we would have a deputy, right?
Yep.
We have that in here?
And we did have one, didn't
It's on,
we? We up and did it.
We did it.
I marked it. It's on, oh, I have no page numbers. It's in
prob-
section 2.
Yeah, I think so.
It's in section 2 of something. Article 5.
May not have that one here. Do we have it here? I don't even know if we have it here. Do we have it?
Yeah.
In what they sent us just today?
Yep.
Where is it? Section?
Article 5.
Section 2, town moderator.
Yeah, there's nothing in there
Section
about
two.
the deputy
That's
town
who
marshal.
forwarded it.
There shall be a town moderator.
3:00 this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, this should say there will be a deputy too. We did agree on that, Anthony. Deputy town moderator.
Is the deputy appointed by the moderator?
It's just today.
Tim, appointed by the moderator?
The moderator could name an individual, but town meeting would have to elect an individual to serve in that capacity, which we just did at a town
Right,
meeting
we did.
2 weeks ago. Yeah. So I can name anyone I'd like, but town meeting's gonna have to agree with that, or they'll name someone else.
Town meeting will still have the ability to
Yes.
recommend someone or to move.
Right.
Let me double check, that structure would be in the town meeting section. I don't know if it's in this one, but if it's not, I will look into
Okay.
it, so.
All right, great. All right, can we quickly look at the work plan? They sent a revised work plan. I just want to talk about something because it looks like we have 3 meetings to talk to the finance committee, and I guess other things we'll eke into that, especially after tonight's meeting. We'll talk to some of these things next time, but there's a work plan. Look like
So we
it came
did
out
this
today.
Updated work plan, we are here and other elected officials and
That's where my
school
work plan
committee.
went.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's not that big of a deal at this point, but I'm just showing, this is saying November, December, Finance Committee, but we're not gonna need 3 meetings to talk about Finance Committee, I hope, maybe we will, but we're probably gonna need another meeting to talk about a lot of this stuff, so maybe it's okay just to leave it the way it is right now. It's just a highlight anyway, a structure, but, all right, so back to,
Well,
go ahead.
before you go there, didn't we in the last meeting discuss possibly having a public hearing in January?
Yeah, I thought that was in here, no?
Squeezing
Well,
it in.
let me just so people can see, so what's in the middle here is the work plan, sort of the first version. Because this elected official section has taken so much longer, I did not move over the public hearings, because I wasn't sure how you were going to schedule those, sort of under this. So there's the proposed work plan,
Not there.
August, and then here on the far right is sort of where you are right now. in
Yep,
terms
we
of-
got it. We just need to add public hearing in.
Written participation.
Yeah, well, that's other sections we gotta do. Yeah,
Well, I think some of the survey stuff that we talked about the last time
yeah.
will get input, but it won't be that face to face.
No, I know, it's a
Kinda
different
Q&A.
thing. I think those
Right.
are different. Yeah, I agree.
So
Okay,
we're gonna add public hearing to January.
that, you all are setting it up, so that what you wanna do? We gonna be ready to do it in January
Sounds
again?
good to me.
I'm just one person, I'm asking the question.
I think we talked last time, it's more of just a progress report
Right.
and an opportunity
Yeah.
for Q&A, so
Mhm.
I think we can do it
Okay.
as often as we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
If people show up.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we did talk about January, because we
Yeah, we
said
did.
we'd
I
do
thought
it
we
during the
did.
day instead of in the cold, dark night,
Yeah.
so.
all right, so that'll be January. We'll plan on that.
The other, related to a work plan, it's middle of November.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend that we identify what our meeting dates are for the first half of next year.
Okay, I have to
So-
look and see if the board, have you guys done your meetings for next year yet?
No.
We have to wait for them.
When will you do that?
Usually the
December.
first meeting in December, I think.
Okay, so in 2 or 3 weeks, okay.
Okay,
Are we talking about going through the select board and presenting to the town meeting in April or May?
No,
no,
we removed
it'll
that
be fall.
months.
Should we revise this accordingly?
We're not sure where.
Yeah, it
where
will
we're gonna
get,
Revise it too, but
Why
Yeah.
why don't we look at this and then rough it out and develop a new work plan next meeting?
yep.
And also, if you go to the second page, sort of just, if we, again, this is assuming that you did it sort of in the same timeframes. So now you're looking at submitting in June, July of 2026.
Yeah, probably a little bit later than that, but things slow down then, and you've got to get a lot of other legal review and other things happen, and so it's still probably not a bad timeline to get to a fall town meeting, actually.
I mean,
fall
I'll just
town
say,
meeting's the place where this ought to be, simply because it's gonna take up an entire meeting. You see that coming.
but I'll just say, you know, so when, next time when we develop a work plan that
Mhm.
we believe in, we
Mhm.
need to think through in terms of when are we gonna say, we're gonna try to hand it off to the select board, and the select board's gonna take who knows what amount of time. I think fall very ambitious at this point.
Okay, but I think conversation when Joe and I have our call with them, we talked about the process. And the reality is, whether it's springtime meeting or fall town meeting, the legislature probably isn't gonna deal with it until the first part of the year, because that's when they do this stuff. So if you miss that window, then you may be a whole nother year out.
Yes.
So so we can talk about it next time at the next meeting, but to your point, we need to have that, understand that, and if that's a hard date, then we need to know it's a hard date and work towards it.
And we
Increase meetings
Right,
wherever we
right.
need to do so.
Right.
Somewhat, you used the term hand off to the select board, and I don't mean to, I wouldn't think we are gonna hand something off. I would think that we're gonna probably have some dialogue. I would think, as to our I hope we have it documented. I hope we have recommendation, rationale. But I would think that there would be dialogue.
Well, I
throw it over the wall.
suspect that when the Board of Selectmen get it, they have time to read it, and then would want to talk to you about it. You know, why did you do this? You
Yep.
said you did this, but why? So,
Absolutely.
I think-
Good point.
yeah, keep it the way it is, yeah.
Okay, so we'll work on a better work plan that seems to have some semblance to where we are.
Good point, though, about, I don't know much about, but having it go to the fall town meeting as opposed to the meeting when all the town business, right?
Right.
That seems to be a good idea. And if we put a stake in the ground, that's what we want to do. When we work hard, maybe we can do that.
Yeah, that's-
Maybe.
Maybe. Madam Chairman, would you accept a motion to adjourn?
No, I would not.
Just checking.
Anthony and Mel can leave, but we got a couple more things we gotta do first. Sorry.
Perfectly right.
Number one is we need to vote on minutes. We'll get that one out of the way
Right, guys.
first. So we want to make a motion on that?
Charlotte's got her hand raised.
Oh, Charlotte?
Sorry, guys. Just reminding everybody that in the tracker there is a note where we want to add our deliberations, our rationale for our decisions in our recommendations, so that when we do have that back and forth, we've got some of that tracked and documented.
Okay. However, I'm looking for a motion for the minutes. From what was it, October
27th?
27th? Somebody, I can't make the motion, somebody else has to do it.
Motion to approve.
Minutes from
October 27th?
October 27th.
Second.
Good.
Second,
Discussion?
discussion, yes?
Yeah, I just got it yesterday and appreciate it being done. The public input and forum, I think, needs to be expanded. We don't have a document anywhere other than the LCTV broadcast that reflects the public input. I think we discussed in our review of that meeting certain aspects. My recollection, but I didn't go back and rewatch the meeting, but my recollection is we noted that we had multiple people from the public that discussed aspects of town meeting. We had, I think, possibly the two gentlemen that were here tonight discuss representative government. I think to not have any indication at all with regard to what the public stated during that public forum is amiss. So I'm not comfortable with the minutes as they currently are presented.
But does that go in the minutes of does that go in the minutes of last meeting?
Well, we did a post-mortem with regard to the public forum, and I thought we discussed some elements of what we heard at the public forum. And to not have it reflected in here at all, I think is not doing right by the public forum that we had. Going forward, I even feel more strongly, going forward, I hope at the next January public forum, we'll ask that every person that speaks is identified, because the select board minutes consistently reflect public input with regard to who's the person that said it and what was the, two sentences with regard to what they said.
Great. With respect to the minutes, are you saying that
Rob.
the minutes as currently drafted don't reflect what went on at the last meeting?
Yes.
Can we add the link to the meeting or?
Mark?
Rob, I was.
No, it should reflect what
Yeah, I'm a
happened at
little-
last meeting, not what happened necessarily at the town
I'm in
listening
agreement.
session. It should reflect what was said at last meeting.
Correct.
Our meeting, yes.
Yes.
Charlotte?
Well, just, yeah, I'm a little behind on that. I was actually planning on doing minutes of the public forum, like a summary. I'm remiss, haven't done that yet, but would that help to make sure that we have documentation about what was said and we can post it as a summary of that meeting?
It will help, but I also think.
Of the forum.
So I agree that pertains to the forum, I think that'd be great. But I think also with regard to the postmortem that we did here, there's nothing with regard to what we each heard. I mean, often what we do in these meetings is we hear different inputs, and I thought that we had some postmortem / deliberation with regard to what we heard. And I think that's an important step with regard to documenting, communicating to the public that we heard what you said.
Can I recommend, take Charlotte up on our offer to summarize in some form or fashion takeaways from the forum meeting that we'll review and digest and talk about at a future meeting, and attach it to the meeting minutes of that future meeting, including the dialogue that happens at that meeting? Would that be acceptable?
Fine with me.
And is there beefing up of the last minutes about this? Were there things said at last meeting that we should be dropping into these minutes before?
That's my opinion, but I'm one of 9.
I mean, I agree. If we discuss something at the last meeting that's not reflected in the minutes, then it should be reflected in the minutes. Even if it were reflections on a meeting, the public forum.
Rob, do you have a recollection of what was discussed at the last meeting?
I just stated too, I remember hearing.
I was going somewhere with my question. Would you be willing to write what you believe ought to be included in the minutes for the last meeting?
I will, I'll have to go back and watch it again, but I will do that.
Was any of that in the AI, Charlotte? Did that pick any of that up?
Yeah, no, it did. Well, it did, and I did kind of skip over some of that deliberation, but maybe, I mean, there was certainly, we talked about the positive public engagement, we talked about the turnout, we talked about some specific themes from the residents and what they had raised in that meeting, and some of our interpretation on that. I can, maybe it will be helpful, I can draft a sort of expanded paragraph on that, adjust the minutes accordingly, and if we want, we can approve both sets of minutes at the next meeting. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm
Okay, that's
more than
fine.
happy to
No, let's
amend
do
it,
that.
because I realized
Thank you, Charlotte.
it was a
that'd be
little
great.
curtailed.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then there's that one. We still, in the newsletter, we do need to talk about the newsletter. I saw your article. I'm fine with that. I have a little concern about surveys. I want to get people's input, but I don't want to give the impression that this is an election, that people get to vote and that's how the charter ends up. And so I want to make sure that we put surveys out, well, what do you think about this, that comes across as, and honestly, it's more, what we were talking about earlier, especially if there's facts, if there's a reason why we should go this way or a reason it should go that way, to hear that. So that's my only concern with that. The input is good, but if it really was just an election and people just get to vote on it, then we don't need to be here, right? We can just put out a survey and then it's done. We spent a lot of time talking to people and going through things, so it's more involved than that. So we do want to hear what people have to say, but it's not just most people get the most votes, that's how we're gonna go.
When I saw that the library was putting out a survey, I thought, hey, that's a really good idea to put it on the website. But then I read what the survey is, and it's very simple, Do you enjoy or do you like your library?
Right.
What kind of books would you rather see?
Right.
It's one-word answers or one-sentence answers. It's you don't
You can't
have to
give-
use a brain cell to figure out what's being offered here
Right.
and to come up with an answer,
So I think where I find myself is, while I like this idea, I'm concerned that, and Betsy, you happened to hear it from somebody yesterday, and the person that was speaking to us said, I'd like to know give me something, an example, give me something that you're talking about. And for me, some of what we just mothballed for a future meeting, like the other elected positions, it's very difficult. This is all conceptual, but I'd rather see us have the repository up with regard to, here's where we're at with regard to Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, and allow them, should they care to be informed as they respond to this, to have informed and an opportunity to really have this is fine as written, provided there's something there to understand. Right now, because we haven't given them anything, in my opinion, to offer up as a backstop to give us feedback, I'm concerned with regard, what are we going to get? And so I'm all for soliciting opinion. I just find myself, I don't think we're giving them enough background in order to say this is what we're really, where we currently find ourselves, because we just punted on Article 4 tonight ourselves.
Well, we have the video of every meeting we do. It's the public domain. You can go on the website, you can read the minutes, which says mostly everything we said.
Right.
What else can you do besides hand feed each individual? I mean, it's not like we're hiding these things. I mean, they're, if you're interested in what's going on, be interested enough to go to the place and look, you know. It's not we're hiding, so.
So I appreciate, and I agree with what you're saying, so I was just making the point, but I'm fine with rolling with what Charlotte's newsletter proposal is. I just wanted to make the point, but I also agree with you, Alan.
No, I appreciate your point.
And we can refer to that in the newsletter. You know, here's the minutes, here's the, I mean.
Well,
we
and
can
maybe the
point
next
them
one,
right
maybe
in
the
there.
next newsletter, we are more blunt about, this is kind of where we're leaning, you know? Strong town manager, these boards are now gonna be appointed instead of elected. You know, these people are gonna be hired directly by the town manager or a town administrator instead of the, I mean, we just, boom, 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 this is kind of where we're going. The problem is they don't get the why, you know, they don't get all the background, but this is where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, this, again, it's not a secret,
one
it's
of-
not we're not trying to hide anything, this is where we are. So I think there's the answer somewhere in between, Rob, because it's not bad to say, this is where, because how many conversations, I'm sure you all have had, the town manager versus town administrator, right? What does that mean? Oh,
It's
town
always-
manager, it's like, it's a title, you know, and you have that whole conversation with people. And then you start with all the other things as well.
So I think one of the things we talked about last week was that newsletter could serve to sort of create a little bit of a baseline of information.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if you have any of these conversations, there's very little understanding on just the basic principles of what we're talking about. So I guess it was very brief, but the draft was sort of saying, you know, well, this is what we mean when we're talking about the pros and cons of elected versus appointed.
Yep.
If we want to put a straw man out there, we could say, like, for example, the committee has you know, made the preliminary recommendation that the Board of Assessors become appointed. I mean, we could use one of them as an example so that there is something more tangible to latch onto, if we think that will help with getting feedback. In terms of the survey, I don't see it being much different to the kind of ways we've posed questions in the live committee meetings with other representatives, in that, you know, everybody we've invited to the meetings so far, we haven't said like it's a vote. We said, you know, we'd like to hear people's opinions and perspectives. And I do think that then comes down to just how the survey is worded, that it is very clear that we're soliciting feedback, inputs, perspective, and it's not what do you want, like vote yes or no, but it is we would like to be informed as to what the public is thinking.
So what exactly, I'm trying to
Otherwise,
remember
our
exactly
sample
how
size
you
is
worded
the
this.
sample.
Or I guess we didn't have a survey yet,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Or did
but
we?
here's the.
No, not yet, not
That's
yet.
right. I would say, you know, one is good. Are the specific positions that you think should be reconsidered? I don't know. I mean, we've kind of gone through them all. Because I don't know, I mean, you guys tell me. I don't, you know.
I would be okay with.
You're
I
okay
mean,
with it?
Yeah, and I think we can. Again, like I don't want to lean too heavily on AI, but take all the responses and just say, like,
Yeah,
hey, what,
all 20 of them probably.
yeah,
if we're lucky,
and say like,
probably.
what do you infer from this? What is the general
Right.
opinion, one way or
Yeah,
the other?
okay,
I just
all right.
think that we need to start with something, and we can iterate on that
Okay.
as we go. But I think it's been long enough that we haven't solicited public opinion in
Okay.
this matter.
Right, that's true.
Because there are some folks that they don't want to come to a public forum, but they'll be more than happy to
Fill out a
email
form,
or
yeah.
fill out a
Okay.
survey.
Cool. All right, speaking of, also, just to that point, because I'm supposed to say every meeting, and I didn't. Littleton Charter Committee questions? Or is it Charter Committee questions?
Where you can email questions to us?
Yeah,
Committee
questions.
questions. Yeah, charter committee questions.
Charter Committee questions at littletonma.org. Anybody who wants to send some question into us or give us any comments, that's always there. So I want to make sure the point is, yeah, go ahead.
One, just scrolling back just a tad, and I don't know what the answer is to this, but if we do an article like the one with the update about our sense,
Yep.
our sense as
Yep.
of today, is there any advanced communication to any audiences before it hits their mailbox? The select board, the town manager, employees, committees, boards, is there, we don't have to answer that question tonight. Is there advanced communication before that shows up in people's mailboxes?
Very good question.
That's a good point.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Good thought.
Promise I
Thank
will.
you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
Now we can count on you, Kevin. That's great. All right. Want to make a motion?
I've already been told. I'm not gonna jump in there again.
I'm not talking.
May I make a motion to adjourn?
I don't care if we ever go home.
I do.
Okay, somebody else. Alan's not talking to me, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, now he's talking. All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Are you in